I'm Igor Levenstein, President of the People Who Care Charity Fund, Ukraine. Official representatives of our fund in the United Kingdom, Sandy and David Dix, gave me this wonderful opportunity to tell you about our fund. I am very grateful for the interest you have in our activity.
Our main direction is Aliyah, repatriation of Jewish people to Israel. But for our team, Aliyah is much more than simple transportation of Olim to Israel. Way of Jewish people to their home is very hard and tortuous. It requires a lot of mental effort from a person. One is supposed to strive for a better life and to accept Aliyah as one of the most important decisions in one's life. Despite the anti-Semitic stereotypes, a lot of Jewish people are far from being rich. It is especially true for the countries of former USSR. After deciding to complete Aliyah, most of the impoverished Jewish people have to find means to make this dream come true. Keep in mind that this financial support should come in time, so the Ole does not lose faith. On the contrary, he must feel that there are people who can assist him. We hope that you will join these kind people.
It's interesting that idea of helping people in their Aliyah was brought to us by Christians from United Kingdom. More than 17 years ago, Phil Hunter, head of one of the Christian organizations, contacted us. He asked our assistance in setting up cooperation with Jewish organizations of Ukraine in order to help people to complete Aliyah.
You know, here in the Ukraine there are so many Jewish people who are in enormous need. To be in a community where they're accepted is so important. And to have friends like you and I, Christian friends, Jewish friends, around the world, those of us in the West who can help them with their passports or their documentation. What a privilege, what a blessing we can be to the Jewish people.
And it was also Christians from UK who initiated establishing our fund, People Who Care, 10 years ago. They also financially supported Olim and Jewish orphans. Later, Christians from Norway joined them. During the past 10 years, with financial support of Christian organizations, our fund was able to help approximately 3,000 Olim.
Natalia Klavanskaya was a miserable Jewish mother who had to put up with anti-Semitic views of her husband for many years. When she finally divorced him and chose Aliyah, her husband refused to give his permission for the repatriation of his son Nikita. This permission is required according to the Israel legislation. Only after Natalia's husband received financial compensation, he allowed Aliyah. Now mother and her son live happily in Israel without humiliation or social problems.
Yelena Gusak and newborn Alex were in an extreme situation. Her mother, who previously committed numerous crimes, sold their apartment without Yelena's consent. Shortly after the transaction, Yelena's mother was murdered. Yelena and her baby were given a place in a shelter, but only for 6 months. After that, she would not have any other choice than live in the street. The only way for Yelena was Aliyah. Our fund rendered her essential financial and organizational assistance during the preparation process for Aliyah. When Yelena came to Israel, she said that she was in paradise. She has already received an apartment for Alex and herself. Alex is already going to a kindergarten now and teaches his mom how to speak Hebrew.
Arthur Wilker, a scientist from Kharkiv, could not realize himself in Ukraine. Though he fluently spoke English and was good specialist in genetics, he only managed to find job as a gardener. Small salary, health, and moral issues resulted in severe weight loss. Aliyah was the only choice for Arthur. Arthur had to face a lot of difficulties before he got to Israel. However, with our help, Arthur overcame all of them. As a promising geneticist, he got a job at Hadassah Medical Center in Jerusalem. We met Arthur in Jerusalem and did not recognize him. He gained 20 kilograms. From the unfortunate dystrophic, Arthur turned into a successful scientist who was passionately telling us that his works will help humanity. Arthur Goddess is a Jewish orphan. His mother was a drug addict who committed suicide by jumping off the 8th floor of the building. His father spent most of his life in jail, where he died from tuberculosis. The only person who cared about Arthur was his grandmother.
Надо было спасать Артура, чтобы он не стал алкоголиком.
It was necessary to save the child from potential alcohol addiction because his father forced the child of 12 years to drink and to go begging for a cigarette from street retailers. I used to seek for a way to save the child. I turned to the rabbi, begging to take the child to a Jewish orphanage. I was turned down at once due to the fact that Arthur's mother was not Jewish and his father's Jewishness was not documentally confirmed. Then I learned about a charity fund, People Who Care, that accepted Arthur. For years, the fund became his second family, helping him with clothes, with money, and inviting the child to Jewish celebrations. The fund's employees gave incredible efforts to find the necessary document that helped Arthur to leave for Israel. Arthur managed to go to Israel. In a year, Tatiana and Igor from the fund visited him in the boarding school in the Promised Land at his bar mitzvah. Now he is completing his military duty. I am so grateful to the fund that he is now in Israel and to all those who participated in his repatriation process to the biblical homeland.
Unfortunately, time frame of this film does not allow us to tell you about all the wonders that happened with Elim on their historic motherland. But what is important is that all of these wonders came true thanks to the support of the Christians, and we are infinitely happy for this help.
Today Ukraine is suffering from the war. More than 10,000 died, including 100 children. Dozens of towns are completely destroyed. On the occupied territory, people live in the basements without water, gas, electricity, or government allowances. Terrors of war is forcing Jewish people to leave Ukraine. Christian volunteers every day take Jewish people away from the occupied zone. These Jewish people lost their calm lives, wealth, work, home. Fear lives in their souls. This is what happened to the Stein family from Donetsk, Sychov family from Horlivka, Shimansky family from Makeyevka, and many other families. But what is important is that they saved their lives and still have hope for the happy future in Israel.
For the year of war, more than 6,000 people completed Aliyah from Ukraine. Nobody knows when war will be over. Truth is very fragile and unstable. More and more people choose Aliyah every day. Unfortunately, our financial resources are very limited, and we really hope for your help.
So, People Who Care, who are we?
We are the fund that was established by a Christian initiative in support of Aliyah.
We're the fund that uses Christian donations to make way of Jewish people to Israel easier.
We're the fund that in close cooperation with Christians follows the Lord's commandments.
This is what the Sovereign Lord says. When I gather the people of Israel from the nations where they have been scattered, I will show myself holy among them in the sight of the nations. Then they will live in their own land, which I gave to my servant Jacob. They will live there in safety and will build houses and plant vineyards. They will live in safety when I inflict punishment on all the neighbors who maligned them. Then they will know that I am the Lord, their God.